Hello fellow Star Trek fans, welcome back to another episode of 10 Forward with me, your host, Mike Overton. This week we're looking at Season 4, Episode 2 of Lower Decks. The episode is titled, I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee. Let's delve in. The episode begins by following the strange, mysterious ship that we saw at the end of last week's episode that destroyed the Klingon Warbird. This time, it's targeted those scheming backstabbers, the Romulans. The Romulan ship is quickly disabled and destroyed by this strange vessel. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Cerritos, Shax and Ransom are seen stretching in one of the yoga studios, whilst Mariner overhears Ransom discussing the new lieutenants and hinting that Mariner won't be his problem for much longer. The newly promoted lieutenants are packing up their bunks as they've now been given their own quarters, finally. To avoid being demoted, Mariner decides to earn her demotion by acting recklessly on an away mission. On the away mission, Mariner wears her workout outfit and behaves rather casually, which really frustrates Ransom. The mission is to retrieve humans that were accidentally placed on display in a space station zoo. Mariner's reckless piloting doesn't seem to affect Ransom, who compliments her skills. Rutherford competes with a new ensign. His name is Livik, to make engineering improvements, but is repeatedly outdone by him. Boimler struggles with noisy quarters and very red quarters, and you'll see why if you haven't watched, and ends up rooming up with Rutherford. Mariner's attempts to get demoted fail, and Ransom's even expresses his determination to not demote her. On the station, chaos ensues when the absolute most adorable little creature I've ever seen other than a tribble, named as Moopsie, escapes and kills two rather large creatures. Mariner and Ransom confront each other, with Mariner suspecting Ransom has set her up, but he reveals his intentions are to keep her from being demoted. Realising that the absolutely adorable, incredibly squishy Moopsie was released by humans, who were planning to take over the station as they saw how much money the station made. After saving it, Mariner returns into her duty uniform and Ransom believes in her potential. Rutherford, feeling dejected about his promotions, is surprised when Tendi recommends him for a promotion, and he is promoted. He is no longer the Harry Kim of Lower Decks, thank God. The episode ends with Boimler and Rutherford becoming route names, resolving their housing issues, and all is well aboard the USS Cerritos. For now. So, this is a great episode through and through, but the only part of it, or I should say the only character I didn't like, is Livik. I just kind of get this strange Romulan vibe from him, and I don't really see how he's going to fit into the crew. I don't like him, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens throughout the season and see if we see more of him, because if I'm honest with you, I could quite happily see less of him. This episode was a fun one. There were lots of great funny moments. For example, when Boimler is essentially flat hunting. The first quarters he gets into is very, very red because it overlooks the Bassard collectors on the nacelles. So there's that whole funny moment there. Then he finds quarters in between two holodecks. I mean, come on, who puts quarters in between two holodecks? I mean, it literally sounds like the walls are made from paper. I mean, I feel sorry for Robin Hood, that's all I'm going to say on that one. Just that whole sort of little cuts of scenes where he's trying to find, quarters were very, very funny. I mean, there was some other really good sort of tidbits through this episode as well. The Warbird that gets destroyed the Romulan Warbird that gets destroyed at the beginning of the episode. That was actually an unused design for The Next Generation by Andrew Probert, which I thought was a nice touch to sort of TNG. And there's just some nice sort of little nods back like that. I mean, we now get a name for the blinky tubes that we see all over the place. We see them in Voyager, we see them in the Wrath of Khan, those, what I mean, those long tubes with the sort of orange red lights inside of them. They're officially called Tucker tubes, which we've never really seen before. So yeah, just lots of nice bits to this episode. It was very funny. I'm just glad that Rutherford got promoted and that he is no longer the Harry Kim of Lower Decks, because I don't know, that would have been annoying. I think if he'd been stuck as an ensign while everyone else has been promoted, I think that would have been annoying. So yeah, all in all, great episode, lots of funny parts, loved it. My standout moment from this episode, I don't know why, it has to be Moopsy. I think he's incredibly adorable, and he is that proper juxtaposed character, super soft and squidgy, and actually incredibly super dangerous because he drinks your bones. Yes, you heard me correctly, he liquefies bones. We get to see some, rather kind of nice bonding between Mariner and Ransom here, where essentially Mariner beats the absolute crap out of him for his teeth, because they use his teeth like a breadcrumb trail to get the Moopsy back into its closure, which I just thought was great. I really want to see more Moopsy. This is going to be a really weird episode, so I'm sorry guys. But yes, I want to see more Moopsy, and I hope someone makes a plushie of him because he is so adorable and cute. If you don't know what a Moopsy is, I will probably stick a screenshot on here somewhere for you. So this is the second episode of the season, and whilst not quite reaching to the same level of strength as the season premiere, it remained solid and delivered a great amount of humour, and we get Moopsy. Unlike the premiere, this episode is less reliant on established Star Trek canon, and it kind of stood on its own a little bit, centering on the theme of the promotions the crew got last week. Each of the 4 Lower Decks crew members grappled with the challenges and changes that come with the new ranks. However, some of the humour in this episode leaned heavily on familiar comedic tropes, and the execution of these conflicts wasn't as effective as in the premiere. Despite initial concerns about character regression, Mariner's storyline actually stayed true to her character and allowed for some really entertaining moments showcasing the chemistry between the actors. In retrospect, delaying Rutherford's promotion to the second episode turned out to be a good choice. I'm glad he's not the Harry Kim. It provided a great opportunity to shine a spotlight on his unutilised character and introduced a new foil, Livik, to test Rutherford's really sunny demeanour. Whilst the absence of characters like T'Lyn was noticeable, I think if she was in this episode it may have disrupted that classic Tendi Rutherford interaction. Rutherford's technobabble quest filled for a promotion was just brilliant, and as he strives to impress his superiors with incremental improvements, ultimately the episode emphasised that he really did deserve that promotion. And I just think, all in all, it was a great episode, and I'm glad that everyone is now on the same level, and I really can't wait to see what happens in the rest of the season. Thanks everyone for tuning into this week's episode of 10 Forward with me, your host Mike Overton. If you'd like to catch up with more Clone Star podcasts, make sure you visit our website. There is some incredible new merchandise on there, and every sale helps keep this podcast and channel going. It also allows us to go and do events like I was at last week at the Lower Decks premiere screening, as well as other great content for you. Also, our website has blogs and fan art created by you, Star Trek fans. Make sure you check them out. Once again, I've been your host, Mike Overton. Let's have a great week ahead.